Welcome to the Marketing Science Lab podcast, where we dive deep into the latest research and trends shaping the world of marketing. I'm Alex, and today we're exploring a fascinating study that hits close to home for me and I'm sure for many of our listeners.
That's right. We're looking at a recent paper published in the journal Healthcare that analyzes Google search behavior related to chemotherapy in Germany. It's a unique intersection of digital marketing, healthcare, and human behavior that offers some powerful insights for marketers in any industry.
Absolutely. This research really resonates with me on a personal level. My family has been touched by cancer recently, and I've seen firsthand how crucial, accurate, accessible information is during such a challenging time.
I'm so sorry to hear that, and I appreciate you sharing that with our listeners. It really underscores the importance of this kind of research, doesn't it? We're not just talking about data points, but real people seeking answers during incredibly vulnerable moments.
Exactly, and that's what struck me most about this study. The researchers analyzed over 1.7 million Google searches related to chemotherapy in Germany over 4 years. It's like having a window into the minds and hearts of patients and their families.
What were some of the key findings that stood out to you?
Well, one of the most surprising things was the sheer volume of searches related to hair loss. It accounted for 51% of all side effect related queries. As someone who's watched a loved one go through chemo, I can attest to how significant this concern is, even though it might seem superficial to some.
That's a huge percentage. It really highlights how important it is for healthcare marketers to address this issue head-on. I noticed the study also mentioned a lot of searches about cold caps, devices that can help reduce hair loss during chemo. It seems like there's a real opportunity there for content creation and product marketing.
Absolutely. And it's not just about selling products, it's about providing hope and practical solutions during a really tough time. Another finding that caught my eye was the confusion between chemotherapy and immunotherapy. It seems like there's a significant knowledge gap there.
That's a great point. As marketers, we often assume our audience has a certain level of baseline knowledge. But this study shows we might need to take a step back and explain some fundamental concepts. It's a reminder of the importance of clear, accessible content.
Definitely. And it's not just about simplifying things, it's about meeting people where they are. The study showed that as search volume decreased, the specificity of queries increased. This speaks to the power of long-tail keywords in capturing high-intent users.
Oh, that's fascinating. Can you give an example of how that might play out in healthcare marketing?
Sure. Instead of just targeting broad terms like chemotherapy side effects, we might create content around very specific queries like how to manage taste changes during breast cancer chemo or best soft foods to eat during throat cancer treatment. These long-tail keywords might have lower search volume, but they're likely to attract users who are further along in their journey and in need of very specific information.
That's brilliant. It's a great way to provide real value while also potentially capturing leads for specific products or services. Speaking of specific cancers, the study found that breast cancer was by far the most searched type. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Breast cancer searches outpace lung and prostate cancer combined. Even though those are also very common cancers, there could be a few factors at play here. One is that breast cancer tends to affect the younger population on average, who might be more likely to turn to the internet for information. But it also speaks to the success of breast cancer awareness campaigns over the years.
That's a great point about awareness campaigns. It shows how marketing efforts can really shape public consciousness and behavior. Do you think there are lessons here for marketers in other health areas that might be underrepresented in search data?
Absolutely. I think one key takeaway is the power of creating a community around a health issue. Breast cancer organizations have done an amazing job of this, fostering a sense of solidarity and empowerment. Marketers in other health niches could look at replicating this approach, creating content and campaigns that not only inform but also connect people.
That's so powerful. It's a reminder that at the end of the day, we're not just pushing products or services, we're touching lives. Speaking of which, I was struck by how the search data revealed some of the emotional aspects of the cancer journey. For instance, there were a lot of searches about prognosis and success rates.
Yes, and that's where I think content marketing can play such a crucial role. It's not just about providing dry medical facts, but about offering hope, support, and practical guidance. For example, creating content that shares survivor stories or provides tips for coping with anxiety during treatment could be incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. And it ties into another interesting finding from the study, the seasonal fluctuations in search volume. Searches dipped in December and January. As marketers, how can we use that kind of information?
Great question. One approach could be to ramp up supportive content during those months. The holiday season can be particularly challenging for people going through cancer treatment, so creating content that addresses those specific challenges could be really impactful. It's about anticipating needs and being there with helpful information when people need it most.
That's such a thoughtful approach. It really underscores the importance of empathy in marketing, especially in healthcare. Any final thoughts on how marketers can apply these insights?
I think the big takeaway for me is the importance of really listening to our audience. This study essentially gave us access to millions of private moments of concern, fear, and hope. As marketers, if we can tap into that level of understanding about our audience, we can create content and campaigns that truly resonate and make a difference.
Beautifully said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this episode. Thanks to all our listeners for tuning in to the Marketing Science Lab podcast. Remember, behind every data point is a human story, and as marketers, we have the power to make those stories a little bit brighter.
Couldn't agree more. Until next time, keep innovating, keep empathizing, and keep making a difference. This is Alex
And Sophie, signing off from the Marketing Science Lab.